This week, I want to share some styling tips, and I'll let you in on some simple ways that you can learn to style cool beauty shots and where you can find the best outfits and props without breaking the bank. Stay tuned. Hey gang, welcome to another episode of The Last Frame Live. If you're watching live, please leave me a little note in the chat. Let me know who you are and where you're watching from. We got Robert Varner here, Vic's here, Irwin's here. Let's see, John in Harrisburg, Dale, Kevin Connery in LA. We've got Lynn in New York, Dale in El Paso, Gabe down in Miami, Alvin in Virginia. Got people from all over the place. Thank you so much for being here. You're all part of a growing global community of photographers in over 100 countries who tune in to watch The Last Frame every week. And for that, I'm going to work really hard to help you with your photography in the next 60 minutes. And of course, it would help a lot more people find out about The Last Frame. If you do me a solid, hit that thumbs up below the video. The more thumbs up, the more YouTube will recommend the show to other photographers. And of course, while you're down there, feel free to hit that share button. Whoop, that side. There we go. It's over there. Let your photography friends know that we're streaming live on YouTube right now. Or you can go ahead and you can share the link, lastframe.live. I'm going to put that in the chat window for those of you that are here live. So go ahead, help me get the word out. And by the way, if you're a member of any photography clubs or groups, please let them know about The Last Frame. Don't keep this stuff all to yourself, right? And be sure to check out the TogChat Photography Podcast. Gang, I'm going to be straight with you. If you're not listening to these podcasts, you're really missing out on some great information. This week, I interviewed Flor Blake, who is truly the queen of personal branding photography. She has photographed the likes of Michelle Obama, Gloria Steinem, and Gloria Estefan. Flor shared some awesome details about how she handles her personal branding sessions. And believe me, it's easy to see why she's been so successful. And then last week, I had a chat with lighting master and fellow YouTuber, Miguel Giles. Miguel and I had a great conversation about the importance of providing a great experience and value to your subjects. You notice I didn't make that a business thing because it applies business or no business. Check it out at talkchat.com. Also, the link for TogChat in the chat window for you there. And of course, you can find all these links below the video in the show notes, right? So tonight's all about styling and how can you do styling and what's it going to take? Because I know the majority of you that are here are men, close to middle age or maybe even older. But it's exactly you folks that I wanted to address because I routinely get questions about this. In fact, just yesterday, I had someone write me this kind of long question on Facebook about, Joe, I really like this stuff that you do with all the props and the wigs and the makeup. And then that compliment turned into a little bit of whining. Started with, but I just don't think I'm that creative. I wouldn't know where to start. And I certainly don't know how to make all those cool outfits and things that you do. And, well, I guess I could find a makeup artist, but I don't know any makeup artists. And the list kind of went on and on and on. So let's dig in a little bit and let's figure out what would it take for you guys and ladies to be able to do these shots. So I want to start high level, right? We're going to go there. And the reason why I want to start high level is there is kind of I hate to say an easy way and maybe a best way to do this. And that's worth pointing out. And I think you know where I'm going to go with this. And that is hire a makeup artist, hire a stylist or a designer, or work with a stylist or designer so that you don't have to create these ideas. But most of us don't have that budget. I frequently don't have that kind of a budget. Many of the images that you have seen me do in the last 3, probably 4 years, I've styled them myself. And you know what? I'm proud of the fact that I did that. I don't always have the budget, and I certainly don't have, the money to take out of pocket to go hire a stylist. Every now and then I get to collaborate with someone. But I've kind of turned it into a little bit of an art form of finding things, bits of material, objects, props, wigs, costumes, you name it, that I can take pieces of or use them in different ways and make interesting things out of it. So there's a little bit of, kind of arts and crafts class involved too, which every now and then, that's fun. So first things first, just to review, if you can work with a stylist or a designer, do that. And I'm going to show you how to find them. Because believe it or not, you can find them. They're real people. They exist. And just like other real people, you can talk to them and send them messages. And if you are able to provide them some value, meaning you have an idea and propose it to them, oftentimes they'll be willing to lend you something to shoot, or maybe even to work with you in exchange for some photographs, because they're creatives also, which means, they're struggling to make a buck. So I'm not talking about, going in and approaching the top name fashion designers in the world. No, I'm talking about up and comers. I'm talking about people that are going to be more local to you, that are also trying to get great images of the things that they design and their styles, who are also trying to get experience, right? So how do you find these people? Well, one, there's this thing called Google, which of course you can certainly go to Google and you can do a Google search for, a fashion designer or fashion stylist or stylist in whatever city is near you. I would definitely start with a city, not a town, because obviously you're going to have a harder time finding results. And I would also encourage you, use the word stylist by itself as your last resort search term, because when you search for stylist, you're also going to get lots and lots and lots and lots of hairstylists. But I'll give you an example, and I'm going to go ahead and switch over to a browser here. Let me just get, well, actually, you know what? We'll start with Instagram. Let's do Instagram, okay? If we go to Instagram, and if I do, and you can see I already typed it in. I was checking before we went live, but I could do a hashtag search for fashion designer. Now, the problem with that one is I'm getting fashion designer hashtags from all over the world. So that's really not going to be helpful, at least at first. I'll come back to that one. But since I'm close to Philadelphia, I'll do Philadelphia fashion designer. Now, I can start at this point to scroll through these images, and I can see, as much as this is a mannequin, but I can say, hey, you know what? Those are kind of like interesting colors, and it's kind of a bizarre like design. So here's the designer. I could potentially reach out to them and message them. Now, gang, don't be lazy, right? And what I mean by that is, don't send a message like, hey, cool outfit. Can I shoot it? You want to send me one? You'd be amazed, honestly. Even from what I do, you'd be amazed how many messages a week that I get from companies, from photographers, from makeup artists, from stylists, whatever. And that's literally like the amount of effort they put into it. Those people are not hearing back from me at all. Probably 1 in 100 might get a response from me. And the only reason that person's going to get a response is because when I looked at their link, there just happened to be something there that was amazing. But the irony of it is, 9 times out of 10, when I get that kind of an inquiry, the quality of whatever it is they are doing, it matches the quality of their inquiry. It just does. So don't be that person, right? If you see that outfit and you're thinking, hey, that's kind of cool, well, do a little bit of brainstorming. What could I maybe do with that? How might I photograph that? Do you have a model that would look great and who would be comfortable wearing an outfit like that? And then when you reach out to them, give them a link to where they can see some of your photography. And gang, even if you're brand new, and when I say brand new, you haven't done that much, you don't have a big portfolio, that's okay. Be honest, be upfront. But don't be self-deprecating. Just say, listen, I'm a young photographer. I'm just getting started. I stumbled on this outfit that you design on Instagram. I think it's really cool. And I thought it would be awesome to photograph it on this kind of a background with maybe this kind of lighting, with this kind of a feel to it, and propose an idea. The worst that they're going to say is no. But I can promise you, the more effort you put into the message in terms of communicating an idea, the more you will get people excited and people will say yes, especially if it's something that's already in production. If it's a one of a kind, that sometimes is the challenge. And the worst case scenario, if they like your idea, if it's a one of a kind, a designer's going to say, "Well, sure, I'm game, but where are you located? Because this is a one of a kind. I would want to be there to refit it to the model." And you want that to happen anyway. You want them to make sure that the model that you're going to find is going to look amazing in it. So you don't do it with like, "Yeah, look, I'll photograph your outfit. You find a model, you find a makeup." No, you're contacting them. Put the idea together. If you liked the outfit enough that you thought, "Hey, that'd be cool to shoot," how are you thinking about shooting it? And then reach out. So you can go through a simple hashtag search and you can find lots and lots of cool outfits. And sometimes it's not even the whole outfit that you want. Like, this outfit here, for me, you guys know that I mostly do like portrait and type beauty stuff. So it's like waist up, shoulders up. There's, to me, for my work, there's nothing really particularly special about this outfit. It's a really cute outfit, but it really doesn't fit what I do. However, I love the symmetry of the buttons coming up the side, and I could totally see doing like a waist up shot, indeed with sunglasses, almost a kind of very stern type studio shot. I think that would be really cool. So understand that you're not looking for these pictures of outfits from fashion designers for you to get picture ideas. You've got to come up with the idea that is sparked by an outfit that you see. Okay. And again, you can scroll through these and you can do this any city, anywhere in the world. Hashtag searches are the best. You can do hashtag searches on Facebook, but understand people don't use the hashtags on Facebook nearly as much. So you're probably not going to, get a whole lot of really, really good stuff back with a Facebook hashtag search. And if you're looking for fashion designers that are serious about their career, meaning they are actually trying to make it somewhere and start a business or build a business, believe it or not, you can also get some really good results with hashtag searches on LinkedIn, because parts of the fashion world are very corporate. So these fashion designers will maintain LinkedIn profiles and they will post their work and hashtag it just like they do on Instagram, right? So that's just one option. Even in this case, for whatever reason, here's some materials that a designer was probably going to work with. And you get some really neat ideas for color combinations, things like that. So yeah, as you scroll through, you don't have to pay a lot of close attention, because as you see, there's a lot of pictures that really have nothing to do with what we're looking for. We all know people can put hashtags on whatever they want to put hashtags on. But as you scroll through, things will jump out at you. It's like, the neckline and the lace on that is actually really, really cool. We scroll down a little further. If you like full-length fashion stuff, I personally, I'm not a big fan of that top, but those pants with the boots, you could totally do some neat stuff. This really kind of baggy outfit here. Love the magenta here. So, all of these are possibilities to spark ideas. None of these, there hasn't been a single picture go by yet. I'm relatively confident that none of you have seen a single picture that, "Ooh, I would love to do that exact picture," right? Which is not what you should be doing anyway. This is for trying to get ideas. So that's one way that you can essentially kind of get yourself a stylist for free. Now, when I say free, I shouldn't say free. Free is a bad word. Get yourself a stylist. It's a 4-letter word, right? Get yourself a stylist as a trade. So in a perfect world, you do want that designer to come to your studio. You do want that designer to be there. Remember what I talked about last week? Collaboration, right? The more collaboration, the better. So that's how you're going to find a stylist. As far as finding makeup artists and hairstylists. I've told you this before, but I'll show you again. Visit my website, click on the link that says modeling resources, and it's going to take you to a page, modeling resources for models and photographers. And right here at the top, modeling agency and makeup artist directories. You can find, and I apologize to those of you that are not in the United States. This is just the 50 United States. I would love to do a worldwide one, but I have not found a functional method to do the research yet. It's a little bit more difficult. So it's not out of the question. It's just going to take a little while. So you can go to, any of these states, and you will see listings by city of the makeup artists in those cities with links to their websites, their contact information. Everything is there. Many of the makeup artists that are in this directory, I have worked with personally. That's why they're in here. I have not worked with every makeup artist in this directory. You'll see a disclaimer at the bottom of every page. I have, however, reviewed the portfolios of every makeup artist in this directory. Based on their portfolios, I would be willing to work with them if I had a need in their city, if I was traveling. And you guys know that's how I find my makeup artists when I travel. Another way that you can find makeup artists, we'll go back to Instagram, right? So you do a search. Let me scroll up here. You do a search where you type in makeup artist, and I'm going to do, I don't know, Detroit. Or actually, here, I'm going to pick Grand Rapids. Don't ask me why I'm picking Grand Rapids, but I am. That just popped into my head. So so there it is, right out of the box. So there's only 234 posts, but the best part of it is you probably got some very, very functional posts. And as you go through here, right, all of these posts are probably tagged. Actually, this is the makeup artist that did it. So her name is Kara. So there you go. You've got all of these options to look at. And the best part of it is on social media, unfortunately, people tend to lower their standards for what they post. Right? Their portfolios, they will put a little bit more effort in. They will tend to be a little bit more selective, the portfolio on their website. But on social media, they love to show behind the scenes. They tend to photograph the makeup, like this young woman here, and she's probably a bride. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm picking apart any makeup artist. But even this shot here is clearly not in a studio, clearly not under studio lighting. So obviously you're not seeing the makeup at its best. And that's actually great, because what you're doing is that in a picture like this, and a picture like this, and a picture like this, even a picture like this or this, these are likely not to be retouched. So you are seeing the makeup as it was done. Helps to give you a sense of that makeup artist's real skill in terms of the quality of the work they do. And you're going to want to be looking at things like, if they're doing designs on the eyes, are they truly symmetrical? Are the lines clean? Is the makeup flaky or chunky, especially the mascara on the eyelashes? Watch those videos that I talk about all the time that I have on YouTube about how to select a makeup artist and how to find a makeup artist, right? So this is how you're going to find your team, so to speak, for doing that. But where else? Where do we get let's go to the next level now. Let's assume that you have your makeup artist, and I'm going to assume that you are not going to work with a stylist. You're going to be bold, and you're going to do it on your own. So, absolute honest response here. If you would have met me 12 to 13 years ago and said, hey, do one of these beauty shots, my response would have been, I can't do it without a stylist, period. I was afraid to try it without a stylist. I was already doing them 12 to 13 years ago. It's been about 15 years or so that I've been doing these beauty shots. But you've heard me tell the story many, many times. When I started, just by great fortune, I was working with a Russian makeup artist who was incredibly good at not only doing this amazing makeup, but also styling these pieces of material and props and all of these things that were creating these shots. So literally my early beauty shots, I often felt like a fraud. In fact, I didn't share a lot of my early beauty shots because really all I was doing, I was taking a picture of this really, really cool stuff that this woman was putting together, and it was amazing. So obviously, as it evolved, I got more evolved and I built up a little bit more confidence. And over time, I started styling some of my own. Over time, I started coming into shoots with her with very specific ideas of how I wanted to style something. And I only needed her to do the makeup to go with it. Over time, I started, especially because of costs and travel expenses, it got to a point for modeling portfolios, which is what I was doing. It wasn't financially practical for me to have her come all the way from New York every time I did a modeling portfolio. So, we reached a point where we weren't working together all the time on everything we were doing, but I didn't want to give up doing those kinds of shots. So I realized I had to, shall we say, grow a pair and take a shot at it, dive in and start styling on my own. Now, fortunately, I had seen some great examples and this gave me kind of some ideas about how to do things. But you guys know me, I'm not going to repeat things that I did before or that this makeup artist did for me. I've got to explore. And the one, I think, value that I learned from this Russian makeup artist is that she was fearless. She would pick up a piece of material and she would say, "Okay, I'm gonna do something interesting with this." And literally, like, she had no idea what she was going to do. And she would go ahead then and, she would turn to the model and she would start wrapping things and pinning things and puffing things. And suddenly we would have this amazingly cool, elegant image to shoot where it actually looked like this was the top of a beautiful gown. She was never afraid. Many, many times. She'd start out, she'd start wrapping, it would look like crap. She'd take it all off, start again. So it was with that lesson that I realized I needed to start to learn how to do this. And it was simply a matter of diving in, trying things, experimenting, but then being extremely picky as I looked at what I had done and extremely honest with myself in terms of, does it look interesting? Does it look exciting? Does it make me say, wow? Or in today's social media world, will it be a scroll stopper? I'm going to use a phrase that Miguel Giles used in our Talk Chat interview 2 weeks ago, which I think is a great phrase, scroll stopper. And if it wasn't, I needed to keep working at it, right? So that brings us to the question now of, if we don't have a stylist and we want to kind of create from scratch, which is mostly what I do, then the question is, where do you find stuff? How do you come up with these ideas, Joe? So I do a few things. Number one, I go to fabric stores. Joann Fabric is the biggest fabric store that I have close to me. It's a big chain here in the United States. There are other fabric stores. I'm not about to tell you one's better than the other because you're going to go wherever you can get fabrics. I will say certainly the bigger the fabric store, the better, only because you have a bigger selection. If you are fortunate enough to live in or near, Manhattan, New York City, obviously the fashion district, you'll find some of the most amazing fabric stores that you can get lost in. I mean, they have entire stores that sell nothing but buttons, right? So you can find all kinds of cool stuff. But I will go to a fabric store, Joann's locally, and the first thing I do is I go right to the clearance section just to see what do they have that I'm going to be able to get for 50 cents a yard, $1 a yard, $2 a yard. And then I look for the sales. What's on sale at $2, $3, maybe $4 a yard. And then I'll look through the rest of the materials, meaning full price materials. When I go, I rarely have an idea where I'm looking for something specific. I am literally going to spark ideas. So what is it that catches my mind? It may be a texture. So, I had this purple material. It's got a little bit of a sheen to it. And I know that I can bunch this stuff up and I can do all kinds of interesting things with it. So maybe it's something like that with a texture. Maybe it's going to be something that's got some fur or some fuzziness to it. I'm simply going to go through and I'm going to look for things that spark my interest. 99% of the time, it's going to be things that are very colorful, right? Occasionally, as you see, I'll do some white, I'll do some black, but I'm big into colors. So I'm going to go for things that are bright colors. And they become an idea. How much of it do I buy? It depends, one, on how much is left on the roll. Sometimes it's a matter of, they've only got like a yard left. So I'm looking at a 3 foot, maybe by 2.5 or 3 feet section saying, can I turn this into something? Usually I like to purchase at least 3, preferably 4 yards of whatever I buy. Because that way, at 4 yards especially, I can cut that in half, and I've got 2 sections that are 6 feet long. So I can do a lot of wrapping, or I can have the material blowing, right? So it gives me a lot more versatility. And by the way, all of these materials, well, I should say most of these materials, they'll get used 1, 2, maybe 3 times, and then they're going to get tossed. It depends on the material, depends on the texture, but once I get to a point where I've got a great photograph with something, like here, I can give you an example. Uh, so this piece here, this is actually one of those winter hand muff things that you can wear as a scarf, and then you tuck your hands in the end. It's kind of like a mittens, right? So I got this for like $3 on a clearance rack at Target a bunch of years ago. So I have photographed this several times. It's in a shot that's in my portfolio that I really, really like. And it's distinctive enough. There's only so many things that I could do with this before it's obvious that I'm reusing the same fuzzy material, right? That's the challenge. So now this actually stays packed in a bag for when I travel and I do workshops and presentations. I'll take it along for that, but I won't create with this anymore in my studio because I've got a shot where it's just really obvious and very distinctive in terms of what it is. So I'm not going to, continue to reuse it. So it's really going to depend on, the look of the material, the color, the texture. Is it something where if I reuse it, it's going to be extremely obvious? And if that's the case, then, it'll get used for one picture and it gets set aside. So when you're in the fabric store and you're looking at these materials and you're purchasing, making your purchase decisions, that's also going to be part of your thought process. Is this a material, a texture like that purple material that I showed you that I could reuse that in many, many different ways? Or is it something I'm only going to be able to use once or twice and then it's kind of like been there, done that, right? So that's also part of how you're going to evaluate, is it worth getting this? Is it not worth getting it? And the best part of doing these little shopping trips, you do them occasionally at whatever pace you feel you need some new things to work in. But when you're going like this, it is part of what they actually call divergent thinking in terms of creativity. You're really using it to spark ideas. It's not a scenario where you have to go and you have to come back with a whole bunch of stuff. For me, every now and then I go and I'll get, a big haul. And every now and then I go and I come back with nothing. That happens. You may have heard me tell the story before this and say, go to Joann's all the time. Frequently, I've walked up to the counter with a stack of materials to get them cut to the different lengths. And the little old ladies behind the counter will cut 1 or 2 pieces and then they kind of slam the scissors down on the counter and look at me and they're like, what are you making? Because none of this stuff, of course, goes together. And I chuckle and I pull out my phone and I show them the kind of pictures that I take. So now at my local Joann's, I have 2 little old ladies who work there and they save ends of rolls. And when I go, they'll go running back in the stock room and they come out with a stack of stuff that they think I would like based on the kind of things that I buy. And it's awesome because I get this stuff dirt cheap. It's ends, it's small pieces that they can't sell. So it's never the bigger pieces, but it's stuff that I might be able to cut and turn it into like a choker or just wrap it around a girl's shoulders. And it's awesome. So that's where also you have to remember relationships are important. But other places that you can find things. So for starters, Amazon.com is great, but you've got to be a little bit, kind of creative when you go to Amazon. So here, I'm going to switch back to a browser. So like, you got to think outside the box a little bit, and you got to be willing to explore. So I could go in and I could do feather collars, right? So you think about it, what's a feather collar and why would you search for a feather collar, right? But actually, if you're into Game of Thrones, feather collars are like huge. And so you can get like, stuff like this, which is, only about 20 bucks. And basically, it's a tight collar that wraps around. You can adjust the height. You guys have seen pictures that I've done with this. Now, this one's pretty much retired at this point because I've used it in 2 shots, actually, a black and white one and a color one that I really like. So there's a possibility I would make use of it again, but only if I can find a way that it's not obvious that it's the same piece, right? And when I go and I do these kind of searches, I'm always on the lookout. So even like this, which is like one of those bed covers that you hang over your bed and it drapes down. Think about it, gang. Those of you that like to shoot boudoir, or you got a pretty girl like in lingerie, okay? You could hang that from from the ceiling of the room that you're in, or your studio, and have the girl kind of in the middle of it and just kind of parting the sides with her hands as she walks out. And it's going to give you basically, if you let's say you're on a white background, right? So you light the white background bright, and that black material, it's actually going to give you just enough texture to give the feel that the girl's walking through this curtain, and it's going to be very dreamy looking. So as you go through this stuff, you're always looking like, well, what might I be able to do? Here they have ones that have some color in them, which I've worked with some of this. Here's one that just goes over the shoulders, but there's nothing in front. So as you can see, like with that top, that looks ridiculous. But maybe, if you're just going to do a headshot, maybe you have your model wear a tube top and then it's kind of bare shoulders underneath it. That could be very interesting. So again, I never knew this was a thing. They have collars for parrots. So you'll also learn things while you're doing this, okay? But, you go through and the other thing is too, once you get like to the bottom, now you'll notice, like they have these wrist cuffs. I'm not a big fan of jewelry and earrings, you know that. But hey, they have earrings, and you could go in here and I'm going to go back up the top. You could do, this one's pretty obvious. If you do costumes in general, you tend to get kind of the cheesy Halloween stuff, which still every now and then there's some fun stuff. But if you do cosplay costumes, now you get some interesting pieces. And I want to be really clear. For me, I'm not into cosplay. Nothing against cosplay, but I would not buy like a full costume because anything I do with that Catwoman outfit, it's going to look like I'm trying to do a Catwoman picture, which to me is cheesy because that's just not my thing. I'm not trying to insult anyone. But like this interesting wig here with, it's clearly an anime thing, but it doesn't represent a specific character to me. I could imagine doing some really, really cool things with it. Like even just bare shoulders and a dark green background, or better yet, a black background and a strobe behind the model with a green gel so that I get a green glow coming out from behind her. Like I could imagine that being really cool, right? Little tip about these kinds of wigs that you'll buy on sites like Amazon and that, they're junk. So number one, don't think you're going to restyle it into something else. And number two, you're going to need a lot of hairspray. You don't just stick it on the model and it looks good. You need to get a lot of hairspray so that you can actually get it doing exactly what you want it to. It'll be kind of close, but they get very unruly really easy. So you have to take a little bit of care. Remember, use an Aquanet hairspray and you'll find a lot of really cool stuff on there. But if you want to up your game a little bit, if you're willing to invest a little bit more money, you can go to a website like Etsy. Now on Etsy, the first search that I did here, which is already in my browser, was for headpieces, okay? And you'll find stuff that is both inexpensive and stuff that's very expensive, but I want you to notice the quality difference. The detail is just incredible in these things that you're going to find, right? So, certainly depending on what your budget is. So obviously these halo crowns, I will say this, just to make this point, I'm not trying to talk you out of doing a halo crown. I've never shot a halo crown. I will probably never shoot a halo crown. Why? Because everybody's doing it. And that's the perfect reason for me to not go anywhere near it. I wasn't one of the first ones to do it, so I'm certainly not going to be, photographer number 8,942 that's going to photograph one of these, unless somewhere along the way, some amazing idea jumps into my mind that I have never seen done before. And I think that it would be a scroll stopper. Then maybe I'll consider it. But I discourage you from, coming to these websites and be like, oh, yeah, like everybody's doing that gold halo. I should do that. And by the way, the simple halo crowns like these, don't buy one. If you go to YouTube, there's tons of videos on how you can make them yourselves out of zip ties and a simple plastic hairband. And they look every bit as good. And if you want it to be gold, you spray paint it, this is probably how this is made. Okay. If we were to check, I don't want to get myself in trouble here because I said something bad about their stuff, but let's see. So it doesn't say specifically how it was made, but yeah, I mean, in all likelihood, they probably did it with zip ties and painted it, right? So, but also I mentioned cosplay costumes before. You could look at a place like Etsy and do cosplay costumes, and not only will you find cosplay costumes, but you're going to find stuff that is a higher quality. Yes, it's going to be pricier. So for me, again, I wouldn't be looking for a full costume. I would be looking for something where I could basically grab a piece of it and that may be interesting to use, right? So this is research, gang. This is idea building. This is sparking a creative concept, which means you're going to put some time and effort into these things. And by the way, since I'm doing this internet stuff, not necessarily for the sake of beauty shots, but I wanted to share with you guys, a lot of times the problem that you have when you're wanting to, especially if you're photographing pretty women, right? And the same thing applies with guys, but since I photograph mostly women, we're going to use it in that context. A lot of girls just have very simple clothing. And good for them. They're smart. They're not wasting tons of money on clothes, right? But as photographers, we want stuff that's a little bit more interesting, right? Just maybe it's a little bit more colorful, or maybe it's got a more interesting design to it. One of the things that you can do, you can look around on Amazon. You'd be amazed the kind of stuff you'll find. But you have a couple options. You go to a website like Forever 21, which is one of the stores that you can find in most shopping malls, right? Now, do not pay full price on Forever 21. And most of what Forever 21 has is not really going to be that interesting for a picture. But what I recommend is you click on the sale link up here, come over to the left. They used to call it clearance. They changed the name. I guess they decided clearance had a bad connotation, but now they call it the final few. So it's at least 60% off. So understand that Forever 21 is relatively inexpensive clothing to begin with. So, check in here from time to time. And, you'll find various things like now, and you got to pay attention. So like there's a girl in a bikini, but that's only the top for $6. So that's not going to do much. But like this actually is kind of interesting. If you want to do something that's, maybe kind of a little bit sexy and a little bit different, little paisley dress. It's got a really high slit on the side, only $9.20. Now it's only available in small, right? So you got to factor in the size of the model that you might use. Or even if you want kind of a cute, sassy little like summery mini dress, $8.80, only available in small. So, part of the whole building out your shot ideas, guys, is stop being so lazy, right? You are the one that needs to be in control of your concepts. I will frequently go to websites like this, or the other option is Chinese wholesale websites. So the website that I use for years, I have a feeling they're out of business. I literally went to pull it up before I came on live tonight, and their site's not working, and it looks like it hasn't been updated in a very long time. So I found a couple of others here, right? So number one, Bell Wholesale, which, this definitely seems to be a site that's geared towards women of color, but you can see the prices are crazy cheap. Wholesale 7 has a lot of stuff also, and I'm going to put all these links in the show notes when I get done tonight, so don't worry, they'll all be there. She-Star is kind of a Chinese wholesale version of Forever 21, right? Where the stuff is just crazy cheap. And you can find dresses, you can find sequin stuff, all of it. So you look around, you find some things. Now, couple of things to know about these Chinese websites. Number one, give yourself at least a 3-week lead time because they literally do ship it slow boat from China, right? It's not going to come in 2 days. That's number one. Number two, understand that when you're paying $7 for a shirt, it's a cheaply made shirt. So don't be looking at it from the standpoint of like, I'm looking for a quality clothing that's going to last forever. No, it is not quality clothing. It is very cheaply made. It's going to get you through a photo shoot or two and look great because it looks different. But, so I mean, even along those lines, like something like, let's see here. I got this off of a Chinese wholesale site. So it's a little, kind of lacy overlay. Here, let me switch back. It's a little lacy overlay with a zipper, right? So this could be done with a couple of things. Like for something kind of summery and just casual, you could put a tank top or a t-shirt under it to put some color underneath it, right? If I wanted it to be sexier, I guess I could have the girl wear nothing underneath it, or I could do it with a bra. If I were going to do it with a bra, I would actually do it with a contrasting color bra to make it obvious that there's a bra, because I don't want people to think the girl's nude if she's not nude, right? And this is what I want to point out. So for a headshot, the zipper in the middle is a bit distracting, but I could go ahead and I could unzip this and I could have the girl put it on backwards. And then I have a little nice, interesting lace kind of, top to shoot as a headshot. So literally what I would do is just like I've got Lola wearing, I would have the model wear a tube top and then put this over top so that I had just a nice little lace kind of top, right? So you got to think outside the box a little bit and experiment. I got this for I think it was about $4 is what I paid for it. And then what I do with all these outfits that I get, once I have got the shot that I love of that, whatever model is wearing it that day in that shot, she takes it home. It's hers. I don't need this stuff. I don't want to, have this big collection of clothing. One, because clothing goes in and out of style. Two, once again, once I've got my picture, I've got my picture. Time to move on, etc. So all of these things, are options. You can even go to Pinterest. And I'm going to go through some of my pictures in a minute to show you actually how simple the pieces are. But you can go through Pinterest and type in fashion portraits, right? And something like this, by the time I'm done with you tonight, you'll realize that all they've done is taken some light blue material and wrapped it around the girl's head. That's not a hat. It's not actually a piece of clothing. A shot like this, the girl's wearing essentially a tank top or like a spaghetti strap dress, and it's an oversized hat. That's the key, to making that work. Interesting picture here with a pair of sunglasses. You guys, here, I'm sorry. I'm not showing you my screen. Here, let's go back again. Here's the blue with the material wrapped around the head. Here, the oversized hat and the orange spaghetti strap top. Here we get a pair of sunglasses. You guys see me do the sunglass stuff all the time. Again, I get my sunglasses on Amazon. Here's a pair that I haven't photographed yet. So actually, I take that back. I have. They're on Instagram. Sorry, I have used these. This is a pair that you guys have seen before. So these are retired. These travel with me now. I won't use them again. This pair of glasses here is, let me find the picture and I'll show you. Let's see. Sorry, I thought I had that one queued up, but we'll find it here. I'm going to switch over. So this pair of glasses is from a shot that I did in Las Vegas at WPPI. You've all seen this picture if you follow me. That's them right there. Okay. So they're retired. I love that shot. I won't use them again. So you can go through a site like Pinterest and you can get all kinds of ideas. Okay. Before I show you my pictures, a couple things that you're going to need. Now, guys, let me know. I see we cannot see. You should have seen them now. So I caught up with you. Just make sure. A couple things that you're going to want to get before you start this whole process. And the good part is it's cheap. You're going to want to get a bunch of different size clips. So on the big size, like a spring clip like this, you guys have seen me use these in a lot of my videos. I talk about these all the time. You can also get little small ones. Instead of these small ones, these tend to be more expensive than they should. So what I get, because you can buy like a bag full of them, are these plastic ones. They're small, relationship size my hand. They're small. They actually have good strength to them. Okay. And literally when I'm shooting, I just wear a bunch of these clipped onto the bottom of my shirt. That way they're handy. So if I'm working on getting material wrapped around somebody, I don't want to have to like run and get these. So I have clamps and clips all over my studio. Other clips that work really well for working with the material are actually women's hair clips like these, and even little tiny ones like these, because they have teeth in them. Okay. So you can get these like in a dollar store. Don't even go to like a CVS because they're more expensive. Go to like a dollar store and you can buy packs of these. I literally have bags of them in my studio, all different sizes, shapes, and colors, because sometimes I want to be able to have it blend. I want a darker color. It's going to blend into the girl's hair so that I'm not going to see it, right? Whereas white is going to stand out, unless maybe I'm working with that white fur that I showed you before, and then it's going to hide itself better, right? So you're going to want a variety of those. So let me switch back here, and I actually want to take you to my, whoops, not there. We're gonna go. I'm gonna go to some of my old portfolio just to show you kind of a whole series of things and what I did and how I did it. So you saw this image recently when we were working with hands. And if you look close, we break this down. We created this shot. The young lady's wearing a tube top. So she's got bare shoulders. We just took this purple tulle material, which is, it's not exactly the same as this. The material in the picture is called tulle, Tulle. This is a little bit more dense, but basically we've just kind of fluffed the material up where we started out. She's got part of it in her hand, and we're wrapping things and building it up. And frequently, even I'll take one of these hair clips and I will clip the material to the back of the model's head to give me some height. And then from there, I can start to build things out to a, oh, you guys can't see it. I am so sorry. So I'll go ahead here. Let's move her up to here. Okay. I'll go ahead. There we go. Move her hair forward. Good. So I'll take a piece of the material, take a hair clip, and I will clip it to the back of her head, right? And then from there, I can start to fluff out and build out the side to get some height. And you notice one of the things that I do, and you're going to see this in most of my pictures, and I show you in a minute, lots of layers and shapes. So you see how by kind of folding the material up, I start to get interesting lines, right? When you do it, you want to be careful. Notice how when I get the edge down here, that edge looks kind of sloppy in the picture. So I'm always going to try and kind of hide edges and make soft, round edges. So it's a matter of taking your time and experimenting. Part of the reason for working with a tube top is frequently I'm going to clip material to the tube top. I may be clipping it on the back. I may be clipping it in the front. Goes without saying, guys, I'm not going to walk up to a model and grab the tube top and clip it. That's why I work with a makeup artist, right? So you have the makeup artist do that. But once I clip something to the front, now, so I've got a clip there. So obviously I have to hide the clip, but now I can start to, build and shape and just create interesting textures, right? And then I could come up and put another clip back up here and then pull it out to the side a little bit. So we could go on literally for hours, and it's just about experimenting. There's no step one, step two, step three. There's no right or wrong. There is you being willing to fail. That's the key. So, again, in this one, it's the purple tulle. Same young lady, different look. This is also from a fabric store, just some yellow vinyl material. that we folded up and wrapped it around her, clipped it behind her in several places because it's kind of heavy. And then we took a thin piece of it and we made a hairband out of it. Okay. And then the makeup artist who was doing the hair flipped the hair up over that to create that look. This is nothing more than the fact that if you look close underneath, she happened to be wearing an orange colored dress. It's kind of like a tank top type dress. So I wanted something that was a little bit more interesting. I'm not a fan of tank tops for headshots, period. I've talked about that before, so I'm not going to get into that now. So I decided I liked the color, especially with her red hair. So I wanted the orange material, and I have the fan blowing it, etc. This one's a little crazier, but what this is on her head is a toddler's dancing tutu. So imagine a little ballerina tutu. It's sized for a toddler, and we flipped it upside down, and then we're using a fan to blow it up and out. So I got the tutu at a dollar store around Halloween for $1, right? And so we decided to use it. We found a little fake green flower, and then we did some interesting makeup with it. Okay. So this was a winter coat that a young lady had that was a full, like furry kind of, faux fur coat. So and it had a fur collar. So I actually had her take the coat off. She's not wearing the coat. Literally, the collar's flipped up and we wrapped it around her face. And then I had to put a light stand behind her because the coat's heavy. I put a light stand behind her, which the coat is actually resting on, and it's clipped to the light stand. So she couldn't move, but this allowed us to get the frame and the shape of her face. This is another one with a coat. This is a leather jacket. It's my leather jacket that in order to get a little bit of kind of water drop texture with the shot, we took the leather jacket and put it on her backwards and then sprayed the water with glycerin. So here's another little tip, pro tip. If you want water drops that are going to stay in place, like you see here, take a spray bottle, a small spray bottle, put about 1/3, about 1/4 glycerin in it, which you can buy at the drugstore, and then fill the rest with water. Shake it up really hard, and then you'll spray the water drops, and the water drops stay. Just make sure you don't spray the girl with her eyes open, right? It's not going to do damage, but it also doesn't feel particularly good. So some other examples as we go down. It's just a piece of silvery glittery material that we cut a length of and wrapped it around her head and folded it, and then, teased the hair out from there. This is not a jacket. This is simply a piece of faux fur that I bought at a fabric store. Rolled the edges under so we could make it look like it was some kind of like a mink stole that women used to wear back in the day, and wrapped that around her shoulders. This is just a piece of the same kind of material that you see here, just kind of, wrapped over the girl's head and using a little bit of fan and just working shape to get some interesting lines, right? And part of the key with this is the fact that I'm lighting this material both from the front, the side, and from behind so that I get different shades and textures in the material as we go. This is simply just a piece of material draped over the girl's head. And that little peak, that's exactly how the material folded. Boom, done. And again, notice she's wearing a tube top. Super, super simple. The yellow vinyl that you saw me use before, this is the other side of the yellow vinyl, right? So it's the same material, but on the inside it was ribbed, on the outside it was smooth. And then we had some yellow felt, and this red piece here is actually a plastic hairband that a girl wears. So we took the hairband, stuck that on her neck, and we created the entire outfit in pieces. And then this red material, it's the same as this purple. And I apologize that I don't know what this is called, but I promise you, you'll find this stuff at like any fabric store. Okay. I will try and find the name of this for you and let you know. Shot like this, interestingly enough, what you've got is a yellow version of this purple material that I showed you. And we kind of wrapped and created this collar. On her neck is a belt that we wrapped around her neck a few times. And on her head is the twisted rope that you use as curtain pulls, which you can buy at a fabric store. One of the things when you do the fabric store thing, let me see if I have any here. I thought I had one, but apparently, oh yeah. So when you do the fabric store, there's a whole section where they sell what they call trim, and it's on spools, and you get little stuff like this. So stuff like this you can take and you can do like a thin headpiece, like if you want to do like a hippie bohemian thing, or you can do like a choker, and you can get fancier stuff with this too. That's also kind of, it's very interesting, has texture like even this, and this was literally the end of a spool. So it's not a whole lot here, but this, you can take and you can make it a choker. And usually what I have to do, it's stretchy. So the good part is you can stretch it. It's not going to literally choke the girl. So I'll stretch it and then I'll clip it in the back. And, you can get kind of this interesting gold sparkly collar, right? Again, all this stuff is stuff that you kind of wander through a fabric store and you look for ideas. More of that same material that I've been showing you, the purple, but here in red. It's all this. It's just a piece of it going in different directions to try and get some different textures. Similarly here, same kind of material and some black sparkly material that we wrapped around her head. But keep in mind, I want you to understand, the key here is also making sure that you're using a makeup artist so that you can do interesting things with the makeup and the hair along with this stuff, right? So I would encourage you now with this insight that I'm giving you. This one is just an interesting hat. And we took the girl's hair and we brought it down and wrapped it around her neck, right? Now with this insight that I've given you, when you look at my work, look at it from the standpoint of what did he use to make the picture? And you'll start to realize that I'm using kind of really simple, basic things. So, this was a shot where she's wearing a tube top and I had this white wig. So I had the makeup artist do lots of white. And then I put a colored bokeh overlay over top of it to finish off the shot. This was nothing more than an interesting hat that I found on clearance. And then I went ahead and, got a black material coat. And I could go on and on. I talked about trim. Here's some purple material, smooth material, sparkly purple trim that we've tied into the back. And then the purple material that I've been showing you all night wrapped around the girl's face. Okay. Let me give you one more example of a shot. Another place another thing that I'll do is I will frequently visit stores like Target, Walmart, those kind of places, and look for clearance things, stuff that they're getting rid of. So the collar that you're seeing here is actually wrapping material that you can buy at like Michael's or those kind of places, and you can cut it up and shape it. It comes in rolls. If you go in January, you can get the stuff for like $1.50 a roll. They have it on clearance, and they basically want to get rid of it. Okay. There's one shot that I want to show you if I find. So like this picture here, this is a shot that I did on stage. So I did this in front of, a large group of people at WPPI in Las Vegas. I had gone to Target after Christmas and I found the hat, which you see there, right? And I found the earmuffs. So this was a deal where, the two things together cost me like $4. And so part of what makes this picture work, for the sake of a picture, who's going to think about putting these two things together unless you're photographing somebody like out in the snow, right? But that's the point. And then with the sunglasses, and by the way, the half circle in the glasses is actually the umbrella that I was using to do the shot. So the possibilities are endless, right? You have to be willing to just get some stuff and then start. One of the problems that we face today, meaning you guys, I struggle with it too, but obviously I'm talking to you about it. I've gotten much better at getting past it. It's this thing that I like to call epicopathy, right? We don't like taking pictures unless they're going to be epic, because we want to be able to, if we go click, we want to be able to put it on social media and get lots of likes. That's not going to help you. It's just not. You have to be willing to fail. You have to be willing to practice. So you need to find a subject or a mannequin. You can buy these mannequins for less than $70. If you can afford all that gear you have, you can afford a $70 mannequin. The mannequins, they can hold a pose forever. They don't talk back. They're always on time. You never have to feed them. Think about it. They never break out. Almost no retouching involved. They're awesome. So the point is, you've got to be willing to practice. The mistake that most people make today is they see this stuff, they'll watch this video and they'll be like, oh, this will be cool. They'll go to the fabric store. They'll do most of the work. They'll go to the fabric store. They'll find a bunch of material. They'll get some ideas, and then they'll call a model. And the model shows up, and now they're nervous. And they're not sure that they can get it done. And indeed, it's the first time they've ever done it. Literally the first time they've ever done it. And guess what? It sucks. Now they've disappointed a model. They've made themselves look amateur. And they've also destroyed their own confidence in the process. Because believe me, gang, the whole confidence thing, if you're going to sit there and you're going to say, I'm not really that good at it. I'm just not that creative. I don't know how you do that stuff, Joe. It's really amazing. I'm not that creative. That is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Every time you think it and every time you say it, you guarantee it. There's actual science behind that. That's not me trying to sound like a meme. There's real science behind that. So experiment, gang. There are no rules for this stuff. Okay. And by the way, you don't have to look at my work. Look at someone like Lindsay Adler. Now, keep in mind, Lindsay comes up with a lot of her own ideas and does some of her styling. She's amazing, but she also works with New York stylists for quite a bit of her work. Lindsay will have the concept, but then she'll work with the stylist to actually make it happen. Not always, but the majority of the time, right? You can go back and you can listen to my Talk Chat interview with Lindsay, and she actually talks about the styling and how she does it. So you'll hear some overlap, but indeed, she's doing it at an even higher level. Her work is absolutely amazing, right? So I did have a question here from Redden. Most of your shots are only shoulder or neck up. Just wondering why. Because I'm a portrait photographer, and so that is most of my shots. Most of the stuff that I'm teaching, Redden, if you look at my YouTube videos, is I'm teaching lighting. I am teaching a lot of psychology behind creativity, etc. So I want the details to be big. I want them to be bold. And indeed, most of the images that I shoot, which I'm not suggesting any of you should do this, but most of the images that I shoot at this point in my career are horizontal. I take very few vertical images, and that's just because most of the images that I shoot are going to wind up in a video somewhere or in a presentation, which is going to be a 16:9 format. So it just makes more sense. And I've kind of gotten to a point where my mind just sees things, in a 16:9 format. So I tend to shoot lots of horizontal images at this point. But definitely by no means am I suggesting that that's what you should be doing. If you like that idea, cool. But that's not something that you have to do. Okay. All right, gang. Thank you for listening. I hope, more than anything, I hope I sparked some ideas tonight, right? And I'm hoping that I'm giving you a little bit of a kind of kick in the butt to say, hey, if you think this stuff is cool, but you've been telling yourself, I don't think I could do that, you can do it. You just got to be willing to put in some effort, and you got to try and experiment and fail and then try some more. And I promise you, you can do it. So have a great week. Make sure you check out Talk Chat. Again, last couple interviews, I'm not kidding. You don't want to miss them. There's some really, really great information. And I've got some really cool interviews coming up, including some interviews with some lawyers about copyright and liability and all that kind of stuff, which applies regardless of whether you're shooting for fun or shooting for profit. So stay tuned for that stuff. But have a great week, gang. Stay safe. We're not out of this whole pandemic thing entirely yet, so stay safe. Hopefully you're getting your vaccinations, but whatever you do, you know the drill. Go pick up your camera and shoot something, because your best shot, gang, it's your next shot. Adios. Take care.